Hi guys, I will be doing a whole series of YouTube videos of books or DVDs that I've been watching or reading, or books or DVDs that I highly recommend that you read. Um, I read a lot, I love to read, and I will be doing reviews on books that are related to martial art directly or indirectly. All right, and I hope to try to do one book review every other day or every 3 days. Okay, so it's back to school time, and basically it's getting very competitive out there, especially with the price of tuition going up, and obviously you want your child to do well and possibly get a few scholarship if they can, and um, Asian students are always, being praised for their study habits or how well they do in school. And so there's several books out there that talks about how Asian students, their study habits or how well they do and stuff like that. And being an Asian myself, and also being raised in Vancouver, where there's a high immigrant population. It was very competitive. The high school that I went to, Sir Charles Tupper in Vancouver, had a um, population of 20% Asian students. Anyways, one of the books that I read many times that I try to use to influence my daughter is the top of the class. Okay, here's the book, and the subtitles: How Asian Parents Raise High Achievers and How You Can Too. All right. And it's from Dr. Sue Kim Abad and Jane Kim. Hopefully I pronounced the last name correctly. And this book is kind of beat up because I left it in my basement, but it's very well read. I like this book because it's a no-nonsense book. It gives examples of how their parents brought them up and concrete step-by-step instructions. At the end of each chapter, it gives steps and pointers that you should follow. All right. And so, why should you read this book? Well, on the back, it talks about why these author wrote these books. So, for example, Asian and Asian American makes up 4% of the U.S. population, or 20% of the Ivy Leagues. Now, find out how they do it. Okay, the numbers speak for themselves. 18% of the Harvard population, 25% of the Columbia, okay, 42% Berkeley, 24% Stanford, 25% Cornell. Okay, what are Asian parents doing to start their kids on the road to academic excellence at an early age, and what you can do to help your child ace tests, strive to achieve, and reach educational goals. In this book, two sisters, a doctor and a lawyer whose parents came from Korea to the U.S. with $200 in their pocket, reveal the practice that led Asian Americans to academic, professional, and personal success. Okay, so these are some pointers that are mentioned in the books. How Asian American parents instill a love for learning, the role of elders and authority figures in the education of young Asian Americans, how family wealth can sometimes hurt a child's education instead of helping, parental involvement, what kind and how much you should have, and how to guide your child's personal choices while still encouraging independence and initiative. Okay, so it's not bad. It's 209 pages, and these are the two sisters that wrote the book. All right, and my thing is, I have worked in a public school setting for over 10 years. I run a computer lab at a public school, and I also teach at 4 after-school programs, and I've been doing that for quite some time now. And what happens, I observe how students interact with me and other teachers and stuff like that. And to be honest, if you want your child to be academically successful, you have to take a lot of personal responsibility. You have to teach your child a lot of personal responsibility. You got to give them good study habits, and you got to kind of guide them and shape them. And this book is not a fluff book. It's not a feel good book. It's a no nonsense book. All right. It's $15 US for the regular manufacturer's suggested retail price, but I'm sure you can get it cheaper on eBay or Amazon. All right. So I highly recommend this book. Okay, and I'll just read some of the titles on here, some of the chapters. Okay, a lot of times when I pick a book, I'll just look through the chapters, the ending, I'll flip through it before I decide to buy the book or invest my time reading in it. All right, or sometimes I'll just read that specific chapter. So chapter 1, they don't call it chapters, they call it secret. Okay, so secret 1, instill love and a need for learning and education. Okay, secret number 2, instill a sense of family pride and loyalty. Secret number 3, instill a respect and desire for delayed gratification and sacrifice. Secret number 4, clearly define your child's role as a student. Okay, secret number 5, cultivate a respect for elders, for person authorities. Okay, secret number 6, play an active role in your child's education. Secret number 7, determine and develop your child's individual talents. Secret number 8, set clearly defined short-term and long-term goals. Secret number 9, teach your child the art of valuing academic success over social status and popularity. Now that I find very important. I go to a school where they put a lot of emphasis on popularity and cheerleading and all these little things that take distract students from actually learning. The word student means someone who's there to learn. You know what I mean? But I think America is shifting so much now, where public school students are now is like just a bunch of kids getting together, and it's just almost like a social experiment. Okay. Secret number 10, reward positive school performance and devise a plan of attack for poor school performance. This is very important. Time and time again, the solution that the counselors or teachers or the parents come up with are bandage solution rather than long-term projectile solution. Okay, paradigm shift solution. Very important to have a concrete plan and to really set a goal for your child to be self-directed, delay gratification. All these little mechanisms needs to be in place. Okay, by the time you get called in for your child parent-teachers conference meeting, it's already too late. Okay, it's really, really important. There's a Chinese saying: you have to bend the bamboo when it's a bamboo shoot. You cannot bend the bamboo when it's a fully grown bamboo. So you got to shape their study habits, the love for learning, the respect for authorities, all these little things way ahead of time. Okay, secret number 11, forget the do whatever makes you happy mentality and strive for professional and financial security and intellectual fulfillment. Now that's something that's a huge divergence between Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy of how to raise children. My wife and I argue and fight about this a lot. Basically, Eastern philosophy is all about following the secure route, and I think one of the reasons why is because in Asia it's so competitive, and a lot of especially Asian immigrants, when they come to America, they basically work really hard to try to come to America, and when they come to America, they come with nothing, and they don't want their child to have nothing, so they push their child to have a good education so that they can attain wealth and security and not struggle all the time, and so very important for that. I mean, I chose a fashion design and art career, and my career has been up and down, and I struggle quite a bit, and so I pushed my daughter to do well academically first, and that way she can have a good academic, so that she can get a good stable job, and if she does want to pursue a career or whatever, she can still do that, and so I think that's the divergence between American and Eastern philosophy is because it's such a competitive world out there in Asia, you know. Okay, number 12, keep your money in perspective. Number 13, limit extracurricular activities that interfere with schoolwork. Okay, very important. We feel like extracurricular activities, I know school counselors like to tell the students that they need to be well-rounded student so that they can get to the college of their choice, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of time, extracurricular activity sucks up a lot of students' time. In America, for example, we have more organized sports in school than any other countries. You know, maybe Canada and other countries, like Western countries, follow that. But in Asian countries, there's no organized sports. Very small organized sports. Okay, kids just throw a ball and start playing soccer or basketball. All right, organized sport in America is basically dominates at the high school level, dominates at the college level. All right, and that's why the NCAA is such a huge money maker for colleges. All right, and I feel like that's a distraction. So if your child is not going to get a scholarship from playing sport, you know, let her pick one sport, or make sure the sport does not interfere with her studies. Okay. Number 14, promote an environment of healthy competition. Very important. It's good to compete, especially when you understand the process to compete. Okay, I'll talk about that in another book. Number 15, secret number 15, surround your child with similar minded friends and role model. I talk about that all the time. You know, you gotta make sure that I teach kids at school that they can have friends for different settings. You know what I mean? If you're playing basketball, whatever, your friends play basketball and whatever. If you want to do well in chemistry class or whatever, you gotta have friends who have good study habits, hang out at the library and study chemistry. Secret number 16, this is kind of unusual. This is more for, I guess, as an immigrant mindset, but a lot of immigrants, especially Asians, view America as a land of opportunity. So for secret 16 or chapter 16, help your child view America as a great land of opportunity. Now, as someone who has ups and downs in his career and stuff, I still view America as a land of opportunity because it's based on a capitalist society where there's very limited government interference. That's why so many people from all around the world wants to come to North America, like Canada and the United States of America. Okay, so teach your child that there's no other countries out there that will allow you to within 1 or 2 generations go from being poor to being middle class or upper middle class. Okay, secret number 17. Accept responsibility with your children for their failures at school. Now that's very important. I've seen parents just scream at their child, whatever, and it's because at the end of the day, it's about the coaching and the leadership that the parents provide. I run a mixed martial arts school. I'm very competitive. My students are very competitive, and when my students fail, sometimes I understand they fail because the guy they're fighting or competing against is better than them. But sometimes I look and I say, well, maybe it was the way I trained them. Maybe I didn't put enough thought or insight into training this move, or we didn't have this right plan, or we got distracted because there was too many competitions going on that month or that cycle, you know. And so as parents, you got to think of yourself as a coach and as a leader. And when your child fails, sometimes they fail based on their own merit, but sometimes it's the lack of planning on your part, lack of planning execution, you know. And afterward, this is very powerful, where Asian parents go wrong. And I see a lot of things Asian parents do that are not admirable. I see a lot of things Asian parents do that are admirable and not admirable. And I'll talk about that some other time. But there are a lot of things that Asian parents do that are not socially compatible in the Western culture. And so that's something as an Asian parents you gotta be mindful of. All right, there's a cultural divide sometimes, and after a while, your children will resent you. On the flip side, if you're a Western parent or Caucasian parent and you're reading this book, you gotta take what this book say with a grain of salt because it's coming from a Confucius, Taoism philosophy, and Asian philosophy, and so the way we look at things is very different. So take it with a grain of salt, and if you can somehow infuse the two cultures together, your child will do much better in school. Right now, schools is all caught up with curriculum and Common Core and all this and that. And once again, the students who are all doing well, or who are like, you look at the Math Olympia, the U.S. team won it this year, and if you look at it, 4 out of the 7 members are Asian kids, all right? And SAT scores, most Asian kids score perfect SAT scores, and it's the study habits, the way the parents bring them, okay? And I'm not saying it's the end all and be all, but it's all about, Bruce Lee said, absorb what's useful, discard what's not. And so if you can read this book, and there's 17 chapters in it, and if you can make notes and apply some of the concept, or most of the concept in this book, I'm sure your child will be much more successful than if you did not.